Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Randana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Mr. Paramahansa, Parvajikacharya, Ashtotar, the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON Bibidi Bandharacharya, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Parvajikacharya, Ashtotar, the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini ki Jai. Brahmacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Shri Upadeshamrita ki Jai, Samaveda, Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato Jai Madiri. Well, that's for the Bhagavatam, so I'm not gonna give you the English. That was a mistake. No, we're reading this. This is not Bhagavatam, but that verse is for the Bhagavatam. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest. Got it? Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 26th day of November 2018 in SanDiego, we're reading from the Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Excuse me. Hare Krishna. And we are in text number 5, starting today. Krishneti yasya giditang manasadriyeta Dikshasti chet pradhanabhischa bhajantam isham. Why don't you have your device with you? You forgot to bring it down. Not charged. Hare Krishna. All right, we'll do the best we can. Shushushaya bhajana vigyam ananyamanya Nindadi shunya vidam ipsata sangha labdhya Krishneti yasya giditang manasadriyeta Dikshasti chet pradhanabhishcha bhajantam isham. Shushushaya bhajanavigyam ananyamanya. Nindadi shunya vidam ipsita sangha labdhya. Krishneti yasya geditam manasadviyeta. Dikshasti chet prathanabhishcha bhajantam isham. Shushushaya bhajanavigyam ananyamanya. Nindadi shunya vidam ipsita sangha labdhya. You ready, Janard? Well, there's no one to skip. It's either you or... Yes, that's right. Try again. Oh. Krishneti yasya giditang manasadriyeta. Dikshasti chet pradhanibhishcha bhajantam isham. Shushaya bhajanavigyam ananyamanya. Nindadi shunya vidam ipsita sangha labdhya. Krishneti yasya geditam manasadriyeta. Dikshasti chet pradhanibhishcha bhajantam isham. Shushushaya bhajanavigyam ananyam anya. Nindadi shunya vidam ipsita sangha labdhya. Word by words. Krishna, the holy name of Krishna. The holy name of Lord Krishna. Iti, thus, yasya, of whom, giri, in the words or speech. Tam, him. Manasa, by the mind. Adriyeta, one must honor. Look at that spelling of honor. Let me just make a white of that. Diksha, initiation. Asti, there is. Chet, if. Pranatibihi, by obeisances. Cha, also. Bhajantam, engaged in devotional service. Isham, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shushushaya, by practical service. Vajanavigyam, one who is advanced in devotional service. Ananyam, without deviation. Ananyaninda adi, of blasphemy of others, etc. Shunya, completely devoid. Ridham, whose heart. Ipsita, desirable. Sangha, association. Labdhya, by gaining. Translation. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. Purport. In order to intelligently apply the sixfold loving reciprocations mentioned in the previous verse, one must select proper persons with careful discrimination. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore advises that we should meet with the Vaishnavas in an appropriate way according to their particular status. In this verse he tells us how to deal with three types of devotees, the Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. One should respect such a person within his mind as Kanishta Vaishnav, as a Kanishta Vaishnav. A Madhyama Adhikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master and has been fully engaged by him in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Madhyama Adhikari should be considered to be situated midway in devotional service. The Uttama Adhikari, or highest devotee, is one who is very advanced in devotional service. An Uttama Adhikari is not interested in blaspheming others. His heart is completely clean, and he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, the association and service of such a Mahabhagavat, or perfect Vaishnav, are most desirable. One should not remain a Kanishta Adhikari, one who is situated on the lowest platform of devotional service and is interested only in worshipping the deity in the temple. Such a devotee is described in the 11th canto of srimadbhagavatam 11-47. Archayam eva hadaye pujam yak shraddhaye hete natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smitaha. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave toward devotees or people in general, is called a prakrita bhakta, or a Kanishta Adhikari. One therefore has to raise himself from the position of Kanishta Adhikari to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. The Madhyama Adhikari is described in Bhagavatam 11.246 in this way. Ishvare tadadhineshu badisheshu dvishapsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha. The Madhyama Adhikari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love, makes friends with the Lord's devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, and avoids those who are envious by nature. This is the way to cultivate devotional service properly. Therefore, in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has advised us how to treat various devotees. We can see from practical experience that there are different types of devotees. The Prakrita Sahajiyas generally chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, yet they are attached to women, money, and intoxication. Although such persons may chant the holy name of the Lord, they are not yet properly purified. Such people should be respected within one's mind, but their association should be avoided. Those who are innocent, but simply carried away by bad association, should be shown favor if they are eager to receive proper instructions from pure devotees. But those neophyte devotees who are actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master and are seriously engaged in carrying out the orders of the spiritual master should be offered respectful obeisances. In this Krishna consciousness movement, a chance is given to everyone without discrimination of caste, creed, or color. Everyone is invited to join this movement, sit with us, take prasadam, and hear about Krishna. When we see that someone is actually interested in Krishna consciousness and wants to be initiated, we accept him as a disciple for the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. When a neophyte devotee is actually initiated and engaged in devotional service by the orders of the spiritual master, he should be accepted immediately as a bona fide Vaishnav, and obeisances should be offered unto him. Out of many such Vaishnavas, one may be found to be very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord and strictly following all the regulative principles, chanting the prescribed number of rounds on japa beads, and always thinking of how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. Such a Vaishnav should be accepted as an Uttama Adhikari, a highly advanced devotee, and his association should be always sought. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chukshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Parampara. So when you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you find so many examples of relationships between devotees. And of course also relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how Lord Chaitanya interacted with his devotees. But also there's very much that parallels this type of instruction by Rupa Goswami here. I recall how, well, recently I was reading the Adi Leela, and it described how this envious fallen Brahmin, I think it was, Gopal Chapala, he insulted Srivas Thakur. Now, Srivas Thakur is at the highest level of prema bhakti. And somehow he became envious of him, and he put this paraphernalia for worshipping Shiva outside his home at night, and was trying to accuse him of being a hypocrite, of being a Vaishnava, was actually worshipping Shiva secretly. No one believed it, but what happened to Gopal Chapala? Does anyone remember? He got leprosy instantly. This is not alone. This is a kind of a common punishment for extreme blasphemers. And but I was reading further. Now a year went by. He was so unclean that he had to stay just by the river all the time. He had his little place there. Lord Chaitanya came by, and he begged him for forgiveness. And he says, "No, you'll have to burn in hell for millions of births. You know, you blaspheme my pure devotee." So time went on, and shortly thereafter, I think maybe no more than a year later, he was actually relieved of his sin, and he became a great devotee. But the point is that by disrespecting a great devotee like Srivas Thakur, he was ruined in his life, materially. You know, he just became an outcast. So that's an extreme example. But we find also how Lord Chaitanya dealt with different devotees. You may remember there's some of his associates, especially in Jagannath Puri, were on the level of his spiritual masters. Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati. I think these were all disciples, I think they were godbrothers of Ishwar Puri. Anyway, he always showed them great deference. Even though they were worshipping him, he was bowing down. They wouldn't come and embrace him because they're elders, and also they're elder in spiritual status, at least externally. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he would observe these etiquette. This is Vaishnava etiquette, is how to deal with different levels of devotees. So the first one is one who chants the holy name of Krishna should offer humble obeisance to the devotee who is under. Now, yes, so that's the first one. Krishneti yasigaditung manasadriyeta. Now, one way of understanding this is that Krishna iti, one name. If someone chants the name once, then he's made tremendous advancement. And one should offer or respects to him in one's mind at least. So you see, you go on Harinam, people may say, oh, there's the Hare Krishnas, or what are you Hare Krishnas doing? Why don't you do? They may do it even insultingly. But if they utter that name, then one can at least mentally offer respect. So this person has, after many, many births, has finally come to chant the holy name. So that's the lowest level. Now in the purport, that's defined a little differently. He's saying that this first line refers to the Kanishta Adhikari, and the Kanishta Adhikari is one who has received initiation, received Harinam initiation from the spiritual master, and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. And such a person might actually be engaged in the service of the deity. Now, I don't know how they could do that without getting Brahminical initiation. But in any case, they're focused on the deity. And he quotes this verse from the 11th canto, Archayam eva hadaye pujam yakshadayete, that the Kanishta means the lowest, has faith, shraddha, in the worship of the Archa. Archa, it refers to the Archa Murti, the actual deity. And he's puja, he's worshipping. But he has no similar faith or desire to associate with bhaktas. What to speak of seeing outsiders as objects for trying to show mercy by giving them Krishna consciousness. So I always kind of identified this with people, because I used to give classes in LA fairly often. And you'd have the class going on, and you're giving class, and then someone would walk in the temple on their way to work, usually an Indian gentleman, and there's no room behind. Occasionally they would walk behind you, but you have to really, it's hard to get behind that Vyasasan. And they would just walk right in front, go to the deities, offer some Lakshmi, offer some fervent prayer for their day, and then walk out. And they weren't interested in hearing the class. They may have, they could have adjusted their schedule, at least sit for a few minutes. But that wasn't part of the program. They were just fixed on that deity. So that's on the Kanishta level. It's good, but it's not a very advanced platform. Not to be simply focused on the deity, especially by ignoring the value of the devotees. So that's the mention here. But even such a person, one should be respectful in one's mind, at least. Prabhupada then defines, or he quotes the verse about the Madhyama Adhikari, which is really most important. We're meant to come to that level. Ishvare tadadineshu balisheshu dvisatchucha prema maitri kipopeksha yakaroti samadhyama. So Ishvara, this is a poetic or a literary device. Hare Krishna, you're welcome. No, but no shoes. Okay, the shoes are up. Okay. To the Lord, you have four different elements here. Ishvara, Adineshu, which those who are related to the Lord. Balisheshu, which are the innocent. And the Dvishatsu, envious. So then the next part of the verse, the third line, gives how you relate to each of them. Prema, Maitri, Kripa, Upeksha. So prema means you try to... Hare Krishna. Prema means you try to develop love for the Ishvara. This is the main thing we're trying to do. Everything that involves that. And for those who are related, the devotees, you make friendship. You have a friendly relationship, Maitri. For the innocent, you try to show mercy by giving them Krishna consciousness, distributing prasadam, somehow drawing them in. And in this age, there are many innocent people. They're performing all kinds of sinful activity, but they don't have any firm philosophy against. It's not some atheist philosophy. Many of them are titularly religious in some ways, and they're basically confused, more or less like us. And they're good candidates for getting some Krishna consciousness, some mercy. And then for the envious, upeksha. Upeksha, make sure they get prasad. Damodar, make sure they get prasad. Upeksha means to ignore, to avoid. The out and out envious means the declared atheists who are declared enemies of God. So this is how it's meant to act in society, to try to befriend the devotees, to try to show deference and love for the Lord, and appreciate the innocent. That's a big part of it, and to avoid the envious. And so the Baba said, this is the way to cultivate devotional service properly. This Vaishnava etiquette between ourselves, it's so important. It's so important because it smooths it makes the sangha, the association, sweet when you are relating properly to each other and to outsiders also. Okay. And I don't know if I read this. Okay. Oh, no. Okay, I read this paragraph. So Prabhupada says, in this Krishna conscious movement, a chance is given to everyone without discrimination. We read that also. The process by which a devotee becomes attached to Krishna is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So now he's describing this last section, the last category, the Uttama Adhikari. Shushushaya Bhajanavigam. Shushushaya. This word keeps coming up. It's there in the second verse of the whole Bhagavatam, describing how one should hear the Bhagavatam, and if one does so with this shushushe attitude, ardent hearing and desire to serve the instructions, that's shushushe. One will have the Lord manifest in one's heart if he just hears Bhagavatam. What is the need for any other scripture, he says there. So this very important word is also there in the second chapter, first canto, in describing how we should serve the pure devotee, the guru, so that we can get taste for hearing. What is that? Shushusho, right at the first. Shushusho shodadhanasya vasudeva gatarushi syan mahatsevaya vipra punyatirtana shevana. By serving and hearing from the pure devotee, one gets the taste for Krishna Katha, which is all important. So now, Srila Prabhupada is going to focus on that highest level, how we can develop attraction for Krishna. The process by which a devotee becomes attached to Krishna is described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 4:192. Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpan, se kale Krishna tare kare atma sam. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders to the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as he himself. Hare Krishna, thank you for coming. Hare Bol, Hare Bol. Okay, so Diksha, now he's going to talk about Diksha.
Is that like a premonition or something?
I'm not going to speculate. We'll discuss it later. Diksha, or spiritual initiation, is explained in the Bhakti Sandarbha by Srila Jiva Goswami. So he quotes this verse in the Bhakti Sandarbha. Divyam jnanam yato dadyat kuryat papasya sankshayam tasma diksheti sa prokta deshikais tattva kovidai. By Diksha, one gradually becomes disinterested in material enjoyment and gradually becomes interested in spiritual life. We have seen many practical examples of this, especially in Europe and America. Many students who come to us from rich and respectable families quickly lose all interest in material enjoyment and become very eager to enter into spiritual life. Although they come from very wealthy families, many of them accept living conditions that are not very comfortable. Indeed, for Krishna's sake, they are prepared to accept any living condition as long as they can live in the temple and associate with the Vaishnavas. When one becomes so disinterested in material enjoyment, he becomes fit for initiation by the spiritual master. For the advancement of spiritual life, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.113 prescribes tapasa brahmacharyena shamena chadamena cha. When a person is serious about accepting Diksha, he must be prepared to practice austerity, that's the tapasa, celibacy, brahmacharyena, and control of the mind and body. If one is so prepared and is desirous of receiving spiritual initiation, Divyam Jnanam, he is fit for being initiated. Divyam Jnanam is technically called Tadvijnana, or knowledge about the Supreme. Tadvijnanatam saguru me vabhigachet. When one is interested in transcendental subject matter of the Absolute Truth, he should be initiated. Such a person should approach a spiritual master in order to take Diksha. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.321 also prescribes Tasmad Gurum Papadyeta Jigyashu Shreya Uttamam. When one is actually interested in the transcendental science of the Absolute Truth, he should approach a spiritual master. Now, one thing Prabhupada doesn't give here is the latter part of these two verses. These are two main verses about the importance of approaching a guru. Tad vijnanatam saguru me vabhagachet. So, Artam has different meanings. One of the meanings is money, is what is it? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But it's also, in general, something you value. So it can mean a goal or a purpose to which you're working. And interesting enough, it also can mean the meaning of words as artha. So, tadvijnanatam, if you're interested in getting realization of that, of tat, of the truth, of the absolute truth. That person, sa gurum eva abhigachet, and Prabhupada would often explain in this context that this form of the word, you should go, abhigachet is imperative. Abhigachet, you must. If your purpose is to understand and get realized knowledge of the truth, the absolute truth, you have to approach the guru. Now the latter part of this verse is describing who is that guru. It says, Tadvijnanatam. No, first it says how you should approach. Tadvijnanatam abhigabhajachet samitpani shotriyam brahmanishtam. The shotriyam and brahmanishtam are describing who that guru is. He's heard. He's completely realized in what is heard, the scripture, which is, often the shotriyam. And brahmanishtam, fixed in the absolute truth, in the service to Krishna. And how should one approach? Samitpani. Do you know what samitpani means? In your hands, the firewood. In other words, it's a symbol of being very humble in your approach, surrendering. One should approach it in the mood of a menial servant, of the realized soul, and that way the knowledge will flow down. If you approach, doubting or haughty way, then he may not speak, or what he speaks won't be, the full message that he has, because he realized here is not a proper recipient. So that means of approach, that's why in the Gita, what does Krishna say? Sadvidhi panipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. This is again approaching the Guru, and he's giving the knowledge. Upadekshanti means to impart the knowledge to you, one who has seen the truth, the tattvadarshi. And what's the formula? Does anyone know the three things? Panipatena, bowing down. Pariprashnena, inquiring. Questions. One has to have an inquiring mind. And sevaya, service. One has to surrender and inquire and do service, and that's the proper means. So the next verse, the other one Prabhupada refers to, is in the Bhagavatam. This is again part of the teachings of the 9 Yogendras. Tasmad gurum papaddeta jigyashu shreya uttamam. Now this verse begins with the word therefore, and I was curious what came before, because when you have a therefore verse, then it's the end of an argument, right? So I searched it out, and the previous 2 or 3 verses describes the impossibility of achieving any shreya, or ultimate good or happiness and peace in this world. I forget the Sanskrit now, I memorized them, maybe I'll review them after this class. But he says, in general, people get together in pairs, and they have sex, and they have a family, and they're looking for happiness, they're looking for welfare and security and peace. And one should understand that in every single case, they get just the opposite. Eventually, the whole little arrangement falls apart. They're suffering like anything, and they're in danger of losing their life, because time just takes everything away. So that's the ordinary course of events. And then one should also see that if you happen to go to the heavenly planets, you know, you get out of this plane and you go up to a higher plane. And you may enjoy it for a long time, but still there's rivalry there. It's temporary. Even if you're on Brahmaloka, it's temporary. So that's not the ultimate Shreya either. That the Shreya is a Nikshreya. So, therefore, he says, now comes this verse, therefore, if you want the Shreya Uttamam, the ultimate good fortune, you must approach the Guru, and papadyeta, surrender. And then the next part of the verse is, who is that? What is the qualifications? Similar to the other one. Shabde padecha nishnatam brahman upashamashriyam. But this one especially mentions completely indifferent to material interests and material pleasures. So Shabde padecha nishnatam, fixed in the different manifestations of the absolute truth. The first one is the books, the knowledge coming from Shabda Brahman, from the scripture. And Pare is stands in for the Supreme Lord, Pareshwara, Parameshwara, the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shabde Padecha Nishnatam Brahmani. Brahmani, these two aspects of Brahman, the Shabda Brahman and the person, Supreme Brahman, in other words, Krishna. One has to be completely realized, and Upashamashriyam, completely detached from material interests. Such a person one should take shelter of. And then he goes on to explain how you should serve such a person, you know, very menially and interesting. And then he has these 2 verses which describes how the devotees act with each other, which is what this subject is all about. Let me see if I can remember these. This is really sweet. Parasparano katatam pavanam bhagavad yasha mitodati mitastushtu nivrita mitaratmana, something like that. It says, what do? They get together, parasparano katanam, and speak about Krishna and glorify Krishna. Hear and chant the purifying glories of the Lord. Pavanam means purify, patita pavana. It actually means purifier of the fallen, and by purifying you uplift. So that's why it's, you know, the savior of the fallen. So Pavanam Bhagavad Yasha. We know that word Yasha. That means the fame. We sing it every morning in both of these songs of the Guru. So by singing, by hearing and chanting together with devotees, what happens? Mito Ratir. One develops nice friendly relationships with each other. And mitas tushtir, mutually satisfying spiritual emotions. And nivrita mita, and mutually nourish each other's detachment from matter. Nivriti means detachment. This is the result of the Krishna Katha. So then he says, smaranchak smarayanchascha. Thus, remembering Krishna and reminding each other of Krishna. This is what this society is all about. To have process of remembering and reminding each other. Smaranjak smarantascha mito gauga haram harim. Agauga. Mito gauga haram harim. So, aga oga. This is a very nice Sanskrit phrase you can remember. Aga oga. Aga is sin, sinful reactions, impurities. And oga means the vast quantity, a flood in the heart. Haram, harim. They're reminding each other of what? Of Hari, of Krishna, who removes the great quantity of impurities and sinful reactions in the heart. And then this famous line, Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. You know what it means? It means bhakti produces bhakti. Thus, this sadhana bhakti, this is sadhana bhakti, this getting together and chanting together. Believe it or not, a big kirtan, it's sadhana bhakti. Because we haven't achieved pure love of Krishna yet. But that's the most important sadhana practice. So the kirtan and just reading bhagavatam and glorifying shlokas and telling sankirtan stories, that's also Krishna katha. In this way, that sadhana bhakti produces bhava bhakti. Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. Sadhana bhakti produces bhava bhakti. And then the last line, I forget, it describes how the tears are flowing, the hairs are standing on end, something like that. And the next verse is all about the ecstatic symptoms. So that's the fruit of proper association. When we're amongst ourselves, we should take advantage and cultivate our Krishna consciousness by these 6 loving exchanges, one of which is to inquire confidentially and hear and chant. So that's what's going on here. But this is all about the spiritual master known as Date Diksha. One should not accept the spiritual master without following his instructions. Nor should one accept the spiritual master just to make a fashionable show of spiritual life. One must be jigyasu. Who can guess what that means? Jigyasu? Atata Brahma Jigyasa. Yes, inquisitive. Very important. We are going to be inquisitive, but we're inquisitive about all the wrong things in material consciousness. You know, at the beginning of the second canto, Shukadeva is answering the questions of Parikshit. The basic first question is, what should one hear and chant as death approaches? How should he form his consciousness? So Shukadeva praises the question. How's it go? I forget the Sanskrit. But he's saying, that's a wonderful question, and all of the sages appreciate it. And then he says, Shota Vyadini Rajendra Ninang Santi Sahasrasha Apashyatam Atma Tattvam Griheshu Grihemedinam. That those who are Grihemedinams, who are just materialists, they have thousands and millions of subject matters for hearing. You know, Apashyatam Atma Tattvam, they have no vision of the absolute truth, nor are they interested in it. Apashyatam Griheshu Grihemedinam. And then he describes in a few verses what their basic life is. At night, they sleep too much or they have sex. During the day, they work hard to make money. And on the weekend, they go shopping to support the family. And to protect this little bubble of what they consider as their security and happiness, they have fallible soldiers, beginning with the body. Keep the body strong. Then you have your relatives, your wife, kids, of course your bank balance, all these things. And he says, these are fallible soldiers. You put your faith in them. But even though everyone sees that they fail eventually, but what does it say? Deha patakara atma sainyeshu asatsvapi. Atma sainyeshu are soldiers to protect the self, your little defense mechanism. Tesham pamato nidanam pashan. Because they're maddened by their material consciousness, even though they can see that these always fail, pamato nidadam pashan apina pashidi, they don't see. They don't want to see. And so they refuse to understand their precarious condition. So then he advises that therefore you should just hear and chant, as you're approaching death, and we all are, hear and chant and remember Krishna. That's the idea. So, one must be jigyasu, very much inquisitive to learn from the bona fide spiritual master. The inquiries one makes should strictly pertain to transcendental science. Jigyasu, shreya uttamam. He's saying that don't come to the guru and ask a material benediction, which a lot of people do. The word uttamam refers to that which is above material knowledge. Tama means the darkness of this material world, and ut means transcendental. So uttama means beyond the matter, transcendental. Generally, people are very interested in inquiring about mundane subject matters, but when one has lost such interest and is simply interested in transcendental subject matters, he is quite fit for being initiated. When one is actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master, and when he seriously engages in the service of the Lord, he should be accepted as a Madhyama Adhikari. So it's not so easy to come to that platform. If there's any questions or comments, just raise your hand. The chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Okay, wait a minute. It's already 8:30. I'm sorry, I'm losing track of time. Should I go one more paragraph? The chanting of the holy names of Krishna is so sublime that if one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra offensively, carefully avoiding the 10 offenses, he can certainly be gradually elevated to the point of understanding that there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. Now, Prabhupada, several places he says this is like a sign, that you've reached a very high level when you can understand that the name is not different from Krishna. Can you imagine, just think of it. We're chanting Hare Krishna and we're actually feeling like we're directly associated with Krishna, no different. Why would you stop? Why would you ever stop? They don't stop. Kirtaniya Sadahari. One who has reached such an understanding should be very much respected by neophyte devotees. One should know for certain that without chanting the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, one cannot be a proper candidate for advancement in Krishna consciousness. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 2269, it is said, Jahara Komala Shraddha. Now this is the different classification of devotees according to the level of their faith. That's another way of understanding who's advanced and who's not. So this is about Komala, means very fragile, very delicate faith. Can easily be destroyed. Jahara Komala Shraddha se kanishta jan, krame krame teno bhakta haribe uttam. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte, but by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of a first-class devotee. Everyone begins his devotional life from the neophyte stage, but if one properly finishes chanting the prescribed number of rounds of Harinam, he is elevated step by step to the highest platform, Uttama Adhikari. The Krishna consciousness movement prescribes 16 rounds daily because people in the Western countries cannot concentrate for long periods while chanting on beads. Therefore, the minimum number of rounds is prescribed. However, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that unless one chants at least 64 rounds of japa, 100,000 names, he is considered fallen, patit. According to his calculation, practically every one of us is fallen. But because we are trying to serve the Supreme Lord with all seriousness and without duplicity, we can expect the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is famous as Patita Pavana, the deliverer of the fallen. So, unless one chants 64 rounds, he's considered fallen. Now, it's also true, I'm pretty sure, we can research this, that he didn't leave what we have known as a japa period, in his morning program. They were doing, I guess they had Mangalartik in class for sure, and maybe Guru Puja. But it was all like, get ready and go out and preach and just do books and whatever else they were doing. So that kind of makes it a little more difficult to get your rounds done, especially if you have 64 to do. But I'm not 100% sure, but to leave a japa period for 64 rounds, that's a long japa period. I calculated, I was fantasizing, maybe I'm still, I'm trying to do 64 rounds and do the morning program. I have to get up at 1, I got to get to bed at 8 o'clock or something, and chant a whole bunch of rounds before Mangalartik, obviously. My calculation was if I could do 5-minute rounds, which is not easy. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, you really only get exactly 3 seconds per mantra, and that's super fast. But if you could do 5 minutes a round, they would take you 5 hours and 20 minutes to chant 64 rounds. And somewhere you have to find that, integrate that into the morning program. That means a couple hours of chanting before Mangalartik, and then you have your 2 hours afterward. It's difficult, really hard to do with the morning program Prabhupada gave us. But the many devotees, after some time, they chant more.
They may not chant 64, but they're going for 32 or at least 25, you know, working up. But the real important thing is the quality. You know, 16 good rounds and full engagement will take us a very long way in Krishna consciousness. So the quality is so important, and hearing everything and avoiding the offenses. Okay, any final comments or questions? Yes, Prabhu.
So this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, which Prabhupada kind of condemns, he defines Dharma as religiosity. Why exactly does he condemn this as one of the four?
Well, those are the four what is called Purusharthas, the standards in Vedic culture, and the idea there, you see, in the second chapter, first canto, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha are discussed there. But what is real Dharma and what is your real Artha? The general tendency, and we see this in the West. When I first became aware of these four, and I was thinking of just the Dharma and the Artha, I thought of what they call the Protestant ethic. Have you ever heard of that? Protestant ethic was something that developed in the early days of after this country was being colonized by the Europeans. And you had these strict Protestants, you know, who were making their little colonies and things, you know. And they all had, the church was a big thing. A lot of the motive for coming to America was religious freedom. All these religious wars were going on in England, between the Catholics and the Protestants, and there was, you know, a lot of death going on, persecution. Many of those were religious refugees. They came to America. So the church was there, and they were very, you know, and it was a dangerous situation. They got all these Red Indians and, you know, difficult situations. Some of the first colonies were wiped out. But what developed there is that, you know, if we're very strict and we go to church every day, or not every day, but every Sunday, and also at home, we have, you know, then we'll prosper. You know, that's prosperity. God will be kind upon us and give us, you know, what we need. So this is the theology, and that's exactly related. Dharma, Artha. If you worship the gods nicely, you know, and you follow all the principles, and you're very strict, then you'll prosper, and you know, and that's what we just celebrated Govardhan Puja. That was the idea that Krishna condemned, because it leaves out, you know, the idea of developing a loving relationship with Krishna, which is really what's going on. But it's just like you know, you're a very faithful law observer in that, and that's what Nanda Maharaj was doing. They had this traditional worship of Indra, so that he would provide the rain, so we would prosper, and it's very important that we do that. It's like paying taxes to the government. So that's materially motivated religion. That's kicked out at the beginning of Bhagavatam. What is it? Dharma projita kaita votra. Here in the Bhagavatam, Atra, this kaitava dharma, cheating religion, which is any materially motivated religion. And Prabhupada points out in the purport there, or in lectures that I've heard, that Sridhar Swami, the first commentator of the Bhagavatam, says that material motivation includes the desire for mukti, for liberation. So therefore, those first four, even if you understand that practicing religion and religiosity, you know, worshipping the demigods and all, will give us artha, will give us wealth, so we can enjoy sense gratification. And then you realize, well, that's, you know, just keeping me bound in this material world. I know that, so I'm not going to do that. So you practice some dharma for moksha, for mukti, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, right? The liberation. That's also material. Because your motive is to get free of all suffering. That's totally material. It has nothing to do with love of God, you know, like that. And it's really foolish, because if you want moksha, just practice bhakti, you'll get it, but you'll get so much more. So all of those, that whole dharma, artha, kama, moksha, although it's better than just, you know, jungle life, like what we have, barbarian life here. You know, there's some structure to it. Karmakanda, it's, you know, at least if you're staying within the Vedic paradigm, then you'll come in touch with the Srimad Bhagavatam also, and Bhagavad Gita, and the devotees. So you have a chance. But in and of itself, dharma, artha, kama, moksha is material. And so the real dharma and the artha and the kama and the moksha is explained in that second chapter. The first thing is real dharma, supreme dharma, is that which evokes pure loving devotion to Krishna, the transcendent Lord, which has to be ahoitiki, free of all material motivation, and only uninterrupted. And so what is the motivation? You have to have some motivation. The motivation has to be simply to please Krishna. So that from the second chapter, 6th verse, you're already, showing the supremacy of Bhagavatam philosophy. Then what about artha? So he says, by practicing this devotion to Vasudeva, you'll automatically get gyan and vairagya. Now vairagya means you don't really want money. So what are you looking for? There's some motive. He says, dharmasya yapavargasya, nato tayopakalpa. There's no other motive than this apavarga. But that's liberation. I thought we're condemning that. So the moksha, the desire for mukti, for liberation, is better than just a desire for money and sense gratification. But it's not the ultimate. And then he continues there and he says, kama sinendriya pritir. Your desires should not be directed toward indriya priti, sense gratification. Kama sinendriya priti, labo jiveti yava. You should live as simply as possible. So now we're not involved with artha at all in terms of material wealth. So what should I aim for? Now I'm living as simply as possible, and what do I do with my time? Jivasya, you should live, tattva jigyasa. Here's that word jigyasa again, to inquire into the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. So Bhagavatam is right on the supreme platform. And what is that absolute truth? Vadanti tat pavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti padamatmeti bhagavanti shabdite. Those who know the truth declare it to be threefold: Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. How to know it? Again, we're back to faith. Tat shadadhana muniyo jnana vairagya yuktaya. One who practices this bhakti according to Shruti will achieve this understanding of the absolute truth. And he goes on like that, and eventually comes to the point of just hearing about Krishna as the most important thing from the right source. Getting an attachment for that. And if you can do that, then Krishna from within the heart will purify to the point where vidyate vidya grantis chidyante sarva sankhya chiyante chasakamini drishta eva atmani ishvare. All one's knots in the heart will be cut asunder. All one's doubts will be eradicated because you have realization, vijnana from the previous verse. And when your karma is completely eradicated by this process, you will see yourself and the Master, the Supreme Master, the Ishvara, the Lord in the heart. So that's not dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That's bhakti. And on that note, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. It was like, did you stage it? Well, it was situated in such that if they come through there, they'll probably go behind me. It was pretty amazing. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, I figured that's what it was. Okay. This nectar of instruction is nectar.